everybody? D-Man back, and today I'm actually a bit sick, so if my voice sounds a bit weird, it's because I'm sick, and that's why this video took so long to come out. I would have posted it Tuesday night, but I haven't been feeling well, so I didn't, but I figured I needed to, so I'm making this video. This video is going to be a Walking Dead No Way Out review, but this review is not going to be for the comic, it will be for the show. And I realize I'm saying a lot. That's because it really hurts me to talk or whatever. I shouldn't be doing it much, but I'm stupid and just did it again. But I like to do YouTube. Okay, anyways, moving on from that, let's get into the review. Now, when going into this episode, No Way Out, Season 6, Episode 9, it's the mid-season premiere, there was only one thing I wanted to see from the episode, and that was the iconic comic book moment where Carl loses an eye. So that was really my only expectation for the episode, was that it had to have that. Otherwise, I was going to be a bit disappointed in it. The episode starts out with the Saviors that are part of Negan's group. If you don't know who Negan is, go look him up. He's from the Walking Dead comic book, should be a villain entering the series, episode 16 of this season, so it should be pretty cool to see him. Anyways, the episode starts out with Negan's group harassing Daryl, Sasha, and Abraham, and one of them takes Daryl to the back of the truck where you don't see Daryl again for a little bit. The guy threatens to kill Abraham and Sasha, and then he decides he doesn't want to kill Abraham and Sasha, and then after a moment of thought, he decides he actually does, and before he goes to kill one of them, all of the bikers explode, and we find out that Daryl killed the guy in back. He got stabbed in the process, stabbed in the shoulder blade, but he killed the guy in the back of the truck, and he took out the RPG that Abraham found, and Always Accountable, and he brought that out and killed them all. So that was a really cool way to start out the mid-season premiere. It was awesome, and I just think it was one of the coolest parts of the series so far. So that just kind of further hammered in the point that overall Daryl is awesome. There's no messing with Daryl. If he dies in the season finale, I will be happier than if Glenn dies in the season finale, but I'm starting to like Daryl a lot more than I did. I used to love Daryl, and then season 5 and 6, I stopped liking him as much, but now he's kind of regaining some of what made me like him again. Now moving on, when the episode comes back from the opening sequence, we start out with Rick, Carl, Jesse, Sam, Ron, Michonne, Gabriel, and Judith. They're all walking through the herd, and it seems like Walking Dead forgot that they made Sam ask for his mom at the end of the episode of episode 8, because the episode starts and he's not talking, no one acknowledges that fact. The episode doesn't even acknowledge that fact, it just moves right on without ever mentioning it again, which makes me wonder, what did Sam have to say? What was so important that we never get to find out? Then the group is brought over to a little area by Rick where he decides they're not going to go to the armory, which was his original plan. Instead, they're going to go back to the quarry and get vehicles so they can try and draw away walkers. Sam begs to stay with the group, and Jesse lets him. And then Carl and Gabriel swap out Judith, finally giving Gabriel a use, because up to this point he's done nothing other than let the survivors stay in the church with him. So finally, Gabriel does something. And then we see Glenn and Enid, and Glenn gives Enid a really good speech that I liked about how people are still a part of you even after they're gone. We heard some of that in the trailer for the season 6 premiere, 6B premiere. And he talks about Dale, and surprisingly, he doesn't talk about T-Dog, which I found a couple memes online about, but that's funny to me because Glenn seemed to like T-Dog a lot earlier in the series. So then when the group is walking through the herd, Sam stops because he remembers what Carol said about him getting torn apart, and he kind of has like little kid PTSD. He has a freak out, a panic attack, I guess, where he just freezes up in the middle of the herd, and he starts crying, and the crying draws walkers, leading to his death when he's just devoured on screen, which made a lot of people mad because I've seen so many people online claiming Walking Dead's never showed children died. It's always been nice about that. It never shows the children's death, blah, 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 which, I mean, I don't know what they're talking about. It's never showed a little boy die. From what I know, if I'm wrong, feel free to correct me down below, but so far, I was only able to find the little girls that died, and I mean, it showed Megan get eaten on screen, so if they were talking about alive people, yeah, Megan was the only one who ever got bit on screen, and she got shot on screen too. We see Mika dead. You see Carol shoot Lizzie. Well, you see Carol shoot, and then you see Lizzie's body drop in the background. We see Rick just open shoot Walker Sophia. Penny gets stabbed through the throat, and the series starts out with Rick killing a little kid Walker, so I really don't understand where these complaints are coming from. The people just need to know what they're talking about. Moving on from that, the show seems to follow the comic very accurately, seeing as though we watched the death of Sam, or in the comic book, in that case, it was Ron who gets killed. Jesse, unable to let go and still crying, winds up getting devoured also. She doesn't let go of Carl, leading to Rick hacking off her hand. That was a pretty cool moment in the show. You got to see Rick kind of break down. He was very sad to do that because he cared for Jesse a lot. And then Ron pulls his gun and aims at Rick because he's a little emo jerk and no one liked him anyways, so he aims his gun at Rick. He's mad because to him, all Rick ever did was kill his dad and get his family killed, and like he said, that's what Rick does. He's a killer. That leads to Ron getting stabbed through the back by Michonne. And when Ron's dying, he fires off one bullet from the gun. That leads to by far the coolest moment of the episode, which is when we see the reveal that Carl's been shot. He got hit in the eye. The bullet went through. According to Greg Nicotero on Talking Dead, the bullet ricocheted off of the bone inside of his face, and that's why it didn't go all the way through, which bothers me. I think it should have. Just like in the comic, it went all the way through, and I'm just happy Carl said dad. That's all that really mattered. So we got to see that moment from the comic play out on screen. Glenn sees Maggie up on top of her tower, and the tower's getting shook around, and it looks like it's going to fall. And so he goes on a little rescue mission where he runs around shooting walkers and nearly dies. He gets cornered, and walkers surround him, but then Sasha and Abraham come to the rescue and fire at them and kill them all, just like in Season 4 when he's in the tunnel. So Glenn saved. He has infinity lives. I love that. Glenn should never die. He's my favorite. So then we get getting into the wolf. The wolf's story with Denise. He kidnaps her because he needs a doctor for his wound. And he kind of has a mini redemption story because he tries to get Denise over the wall because it's safer over the wall. In the process, he's bit on the arm. Denise says she'll save him, and he winds up saving her. I counted 3 times in the episode. He stabs different walkers that are attacking her, and then he saves her at the end when he's running, and Carol winds up shooting him from on top of a rooftop. She shoots up the wolf, and as he's dying, he decides to save Denise. He jumps into a group of walkers that are coming to attack her and gets torn apart in the process. This opens up Denise to eventually save Carl in the episode. Rick carries Carl to the infirmary, where Denise then operates on Carl. And then, in a very season 3 style fashion, when Rick loses Lori, he goes on a rampage outside of the infirmary in order to draw walkers away and unleash his rage. So he goes killing zombies and is then joined by the entire town. Well, not the entire town, but joined by the big majority of the town, where Gabriel and Eugene finally man up and go out and kill walkers with him, and the whole town's united. But then they get backed up against a wall last second, and they're nearly killed. Luckily, Daryl to the rescue. He grabs the RPG, and just like in season 2, beside the dying fire, when they set the barn up, when Rick and Carl burned the barn, Daryl came up with a plan to basically pour all of this gasoline into the lake, and then he shoots it with the RPG, setting the fire, which draws all the walkers in, and they wind up all dying. Then, just like in the comic, we get a nice aftermath scene where all the survivors are standing around the house, surrounded by zombies. The episode ends with us seeing a very one of the only happy moments of the episode, where we find out Carl lives. Rick holds his hand while giving him a speech about how after all this time, this is the very first time since the apocalypse that he's ever felt hope, and Carl grabs his hand back, signaling that he's still alive. Now, overall, this is an amazing episode. It's in my top 10 episodes for sure, probably in my top 5 episodes for the series. It's just an amazing episode. Overall, I'd give it a solid 10 out of 10. It's up there with No Sanctuary, and the only episode the only other episode that comes close for me is Too Far Gone. So those are my top 3 favorite episodes, probably. This is one of them. So it was a really good way to kick off a mid-season premiere. That's for sure. Thank you all for watching. Sorry I was sick through this review, and sorry it's late. D-Man, out.